In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war.
Across the galaxy, conflict burns without end. Every species, every creed, fights under some banner of purpose. Demons bound by the whims of their gods, space marines guided by faith and ritual, tyrannids obeying instincts older than memory itself. But then comes a presence without faith, instinct, or law. Something that kills not for glory, hunger, or survival, but because killing is all it knows and all it will ever do. The Immaterium screams. Reality tears like wet parchment. Something else punches through dimensional barriers that have separated universes since before time had meaning. The warp, that roiling sea of souls and madness that underlies all existence, convulses around the intrusion. Demons of all four ruinous powers turn their immortal attention toward the disturbance, sensing simultaneously opportunity and existential threat. The Doomslayer crashes into the warp, not as a traveler, but as a projectile. His Praetor suit's shields flare incandescent as the Immaterium's physics-defying chaos hammers against technology designed for Hell's corridors, not the raw stuff of consciousness given form. Warning runes cascade across his visor: gravity fluctuation, atmospheric impossibility, spatial contradiction, temporal non-linearity. Every reading screams that where he is cannot exist by any rational measure. He doesn't care. The first demon manifests 3 meters ahead, a lesser demon of Tzeentch, all writhing feathers and shrieking beaks, its form shifting between 7 contradictory shapes simultaneously. It begins an incantation that would rewrite reality itself. Words in a language that predates language, each syllable a mathematical equation of pure change. The Slayer's super shotgun reduces it to rapidly dissipating warp essence before it completes the second syllable. More come. They always do. Bloodletters materialize in packs, crimson-skinned murder thoughts given flesh and hellblades. Plague-bearers ooze from nowhere, carrying diseases that could annihilate populations. Pink horrors cackle and split into blue horrors when destroyed, laughing at the joke of their own mortality. Demonettes slither close, promising sensations beyond imagining. The Slayer moves through them like a catastrophe with purpose. His combat shotgun barks thunder. The plasma rifle screams coherent sunfire. The chain gun spins up with a sound like industrial hunger. But it's when he closes to melee range that the warp itself seems to recoil. The Praetor blade, an energy weapon forged in his universe's hell, carves through demonic essence with a finality that shocks the entities. They're used to banishment, to temporary discorporation, to the long game of immortal beings. This is different. This is ending. A bloodletter lunges, hellblade raised. The Slayer catches its wrist, twists, tears the blade free, and drives it through 3 more demons before discarding it. A plague-bearer vomits corruption that would liquefy a space marine's organs inside his armor. The Slayer's shields absorb it, flicker, hold. His gauntleted fist punches through the demon's face hard enough that the warp ripples outward from the impact point. And then something changes. His suit's biometric sensors detect it first, a surge of energy flooding his system. Not Argent energy from his home dimension, but something analogous, stronger, more chaotic. The life force, the essence, the fundamental reality of the demons he's killing is flowing into him, just as demon energy always has. The Slayer has built his crusade on this principle. Kill them, take their strength, kill more. But the warp essence burns hotter, stranger, more aware than anything he's absorbed before. For a fraction of a second, he senses the intelligence behind the bloodletters. Khorne, the blood god, watching with something almost like approval. He feels Tzeentch's 10,000 gazes calculating probabilities, Nurgle's patience, Slaanesh's hunger. The Slayer doesn't pause. He's fought Hell's Lords before. These are just new management. A rift tears open, not naturally, but deliberately. Through it steps something larger, a herald of Khorne, a greater demon's lieutenant. Brass and blood and fury made manifest. It stands 4 meters tall, horned skull wreathed in flames, axe dripping with the blood of 1,000 worlds. When it speaks, the warp itself amplifies its voice. Skull for the skull throne, blood for the blood god. The Slayer's response is to draw his shoulder-mounted rocket launcher and fire 3 times in rapid succession. The herald catches the first rocket on its axe blade and redirects it. The second detonates against its chest, barely staggering it. The third hits as the Slayer closes the distance, using the explosion's cover to drive the Praetor blade up through the demon's jaw and into whatever serves as its brain. The herald's death scream echoes across 3 dimensions, and the Slayer realizes something. The warp has geography, directionality. He can sense downstream, toward real space, toward the material universe these demons prey upon. The immaterium isn't an ocean. It's an ocean with a shore. He begins moving, not away from the demons, but through them. Each kill fuels him forward. His armor's integrity holds at 87% despite the battering. His ammunition reserves are dropping, but manageable. The Praetor blade's energy cell shows infinite charge. It feeds on the same essence he does. Lesser demons throw themselves at him in waves now, recognizing that something has invaded their realm that doesn't belong, that cannot belong, yet is. The paradox of his existence here offends them on a level beyond hate. He's a reality anchor in a sea of unreality, a fixed point of absolute purpose in a dimension of infinite possibility. The Slayer rips and tears through another dozen manifestations. And finally, he sees it. A thin point in the warp's substance. A place where the barrier between immaterium and materium has worn tissue thin. Something on the other side is happening, something that reeks of demonic incursion. Without hesitation, the Doomslayer punches through reality itself and falls toward the physical universe. Behind him, in the warp, 4 voices speak as one for the first time in eons. What was that? The game has changed. The Imperium of Man, locked in its 10,000-year war against chaos, is about to discover that some wars attract outside consultants. If you crave stories of cosmic collisions where unstoppable forces meet the grimdark future, smash that subscribe button. The Emperor protects those who bear witness to the Slayer's crusade through the 41st millennium. The warp bleeds into real space through 1,000,000 wounds across 1,000,000 worlds. On one particular world, a hive city designated Tertium Majoris. One of those wounds is about to be cauterized by fire and fury. Tertium Majoris is dying. The hive city sprawls across 300 square kilometers of industrial wasteland, home to 18 billion souls packed into hab blocks that claw toward a perpetually ash-choked sky. For 6 generations, its manufactorums have produced munitions for the Astra Militarum's endless wars. Its citizens have lived, worked, and died without ever seeing natural sunlight, sustained by corpse starch rations and the promise that their suffering serves the Emperor. Today, that promise rings hollow. The demon incursion began in the Underhive 3 weeks ago. A cult of Slaanesh worshippers performing rituals in the toxic depths where Imperial authority fears to tread. They succeeded beyond their wildest, most depraved dreams. A warp rift opened, and demonettes poured through by the thousands. Followed by fiends and seekers of Slaanesh, six-limbed cavalry riding serpentine steeds that gallop across reality itself. The Planetary Defense Force lasted 4 days. The governor's palace fell on day 7. By day 14, 3 hive spires had been completely overrun, their populations either slaughtered or worse, transformed into writhing sculptures of excess that once were human. On day 21, the distress signal finally reached the nearest inquisitorial fortress. Lord Inquisitor Eisenhorn of the Ordo Malleus diverted immediately, bringing with him a strike cruiser carrying 50 Grey Knights, the Imperium's ultimate weapon against demonic incursion. Space Marines psycho-conditioned from birth to resist chaos, their very gene seed anathema to the warp. They are 2 days away. Tertium Majoris doesn't have 2 days. The warp rift pulses in the ruins of the governor's palace, a tear in reality 12 meters wide, vomiting more demons with each heartbeat. Around it, demonettes conduct obscene rituals, using captured civilians as instruments and canvases. Their laughter sounds like breaking glass and distant screams of pleasure pain. Then, the rift hiccups. A keeper of secrets, a greater demon of Slaanesh, towering and terrible and beautiful in the way a supernova is beautiful, pauses mid-torment. Its 4 arms, each holding a different implement of exquisite agony, lower slowly. The demon's perfect face, simultaneously masculine and feminine and neither, turns toward the rift with an expression that might be concern. "Something comes," it whispers, voice like honey poured over razors. "Something that shouldn't." The Doomslayer explodes through the warp rift at terminal velocity. He hits the marble floor of the ruined palace hard enough to crater it, cracks spiderwebbing 20 meters in all directions. Praetor's suit shields flare and hold. He rises in a single fluid motion, super shotgun already in his hands, visor scanning the environment in microseconds. Threat assessment, hostile. Demonic signature, confirmed. Civilian presence, extensive. Rules of engagement, REP and tier. The first demonette dies before it finishes turning around. The second manages a shriek of alarm that becomes a gurgle as he closes the distance, grabs its crab-like claw, and uses the demon as a bludgeon against 3 more. His shoulder-mounted flamethrower bathes a cluster of seekers in superheated promethium. They burn with flames that smell of sulfur and something else. Something cleaner, more final than the warp fires they're accustomed to. The Keeper of Secrets recovers its composure and laughs, a sound that would drive unaugmented humans to madness. Oh, how delightful. A new plaything has wandered into our celebration. Tell me, Silent One, what exquisite agonies shall we explore together? The Slayer's response is a ballista bolt from his shoulder-mounted heavy weapon, followed by a barrage from his rocket launcher. The Keeper deflects the first with a sweep of its blade, but the rockets catch it mid-torso, detonating in a cascade of fire and force. It staggers, wounds that would kill a dozen Space Marines close almost instantly, but it staggers. No mortal has made a greater demon of Slaanesh flinch in 3 centuries. You dare. The Slayer is already moving, not toward the greater demon, toward the civilians. A cluster of survivors huddles in what was once a decorative alcove, pressed against walls covered in obscene murals the demons have painted in blood. 23 men, women, and children, eyes wide with terror, watching demons approach with surgical implements and worse intentions. The Slayer interposes himself. A demonette lunges with claws extended. He catches it by the throat, slams it into the marble floor hard enough to shatter both demon and stone, then tears its head off. 2 more attack in tandem. The chain gun spins up, 30mm rounds chewing through warp essence at 4,000 rounds per minute. He's not aiming for center mass. He's aiming to create a barrier of lead between the demons and the humans. The civilians stare. One of them, an older woman with the calloused hands of a manufactorum worker, finds her voice. What are you? He doesn't answer. Can't answer. Wouldn't answer, even if he could. Words are wasted breath. Only action matters. The Keeper of Secrets realizes what's happening, and its perfect face twists with genuine fury. You protect them? Adorable. Let me show you the futility of mercy. It gestures, and a wave of psychic pressure rolls across the palace. Reality warps. The civilians scream as their nerve endings ignite with sensory overload. Every pleasure and pain they've ever experienced compressed into a single, eternal moment. The attack would liquefy their minds in seconds. The Slayer feels it too, the psychic assault hammering against his consciousness. His suit's systems flicker, warning runes cascade. But there's something the demon doesn't understand. The Slayer has been fighting in hell for longer than this demon has existed in its current form. He's had entities of pure malevolence try to break his mind. They failed. He doesn't resist the psychic attack. He ignores it. The BFG 9000 swings off his back mount, a weapon that shouldn't exist by Imperial understanding of physics, that fires coherent argent plasma in a shell configuration that consumes enough energy per shot to power a hab block for a month. He's only brought it to bear because the greater demon has proved it's a threat to the civilians. The Keeper sees the weapon aim and laughs again, but there's an edge of uncertainty now. What manner of... The BFG fires. Green light fills the palace. The plasma sphere crosses the distance in a heartbeat, and upon impact, it detonates with force that transcends kinetic physics. The Keeper of Secrets screams, not in pleasure, not in the ecstasy of sensation, but in genuine pain and fear. Its perfect form ruptures, warp essence hemorrhaging from wounds that refuse to close. The demon stumbles backward, reaching for the rift, desperate to retreat to the immaterium where it can regenerate. The Slayer doesn't let it retreat. He's already closing, Praetor Blade ignited. And when he reaches the wounded greater demon, he drives the energy weapon through what passes for its heart. The Keeper of Secrets dies its true death, essence dissipating not back into the warp, but gone, erased. The finality of it sends psychic shockwaves through every demon in the palace. They know, suddenly and completely, that something has changed. The game they've played for 10,000 years has a new player, and he doesn't follow their rules. The lesser demons break. They flee toward the rift, scrambling over each other in panic. The Slayer lets them go. They're heading back to the warp, away from the civilians. His priority is securing the immediate area. He turns to the survivors. They're still huddled, still terrified, but alive. The psychic assault ended the moment the Keeper died. The older woman who spoke before meets his visor's gaze. Her voice shakes, but holds firm. Thank you. Who sent you? The Emperor? Before he can respond, before he would respond, a new sound cuts through the palace. The distinctive scream of drop pods entering atmosphere. Multiple vectors. Military precision. The Slayer's visor tracks their trajectory. 3 drop pods, each carrying warriors whose armor is polished silver gray, inscribed with wards and holy scripture. Their psychic signature blazes like stars, even from orbit. Clean, controlled, anathema to chaos. Grey Knights. The Imperium's demon hunters have arrived, and they're landing directly on his position. The drop pods hit like meteors. 3 thunderous impacts that shake the palace foundations. Retro thrusters fire at the last possible second, killing velocity that would pulverize unaugmented humans. Assault ramps blow outward with shaped charges, and the Grey Knights emerge into the demon-corrupted palace with weapons ready and psychic wards already manifesting. Brother Captain Arvin Stern leads the insertion, a veteran of 2 centuries fighting the ruinous powers, his nemesis force sword crackling with psychic lightning. Behind him, 9 Grey Knights in Terminator armor form a perfect tactical wedge. Storm bolters tracking for threats, their mere presence causing the remaining demonettes to shriek and recoil. They expect a war zone. Instead, they find a massacre. Demon corpses dissolving into fading warp essence. Scorch marks from weapons that don't match any Imperial designation. And at the center of it all, a figure in armor they've never seen before, standing between terrified civilians and the warp rift. Brother Captain Stern raises his fist, and the Grey Knights halt instantly. His psychic senses, honed through decades of demon hunting, scan the armored figure. What he detects makes no sense. The figure radiates no warp taint, impossible after exposure to a greater demon of Slaanesh. Its armor hums with technology that registers as neither Imperial nor Xenos, nor Chaos corrupted. The weapon on its back pulses with energy that makes Stern's psychic wards activate reflexively. Most disturbing, there's a void where the figure's emotions should be. Not the numbness of a blank or pariah, but something else. A single-minded purpose so absolute it reads like the heat death of stars. Identify yourself, Stern commands, his voice amplified through his armor's vox speakers. By the authority of the Ordo Malleus and the God Emperor of mankind, state your allegiance. The Slayer doesn't respond, doesn't turn. His attention remains fixed on the warp rift, which continues to pulse and writhe. Smaller demons still attempting to manifest at its edges. Behind Stern, Brother Castian Stormbolter twitches toward the unknown figure. Brother Captain, his silence is suspect. The demon taint here should have reduced any unprotected human to a gibbering wretch. Either he's corrupted beyond saving or he's something else, Stern interrupts. His psychic senses probe deeper, carefully. The figure's mind is fortified, not with psychic wards, but with something more fundamental. Pure, uncompromising will. It's like trying to read the thoughts of a glacier or a tectonic plate. There's intelligence there, but it operates on principles alien to human psychology. The older woman from the civilian group finds her courage again. Lord Angels, she calls out, using the common Imperial citizens term for space marines. He saved us. The demons were going to... She can't finish. The memory is too fresh, too horrible. Stern's gaze shifts to her, then back to the armored figure. He processes the evidence, the demon corpses, the protected civilians, the absence of chaos corruption, despite proximity to a greater demon. The figure fought demons and won, protected Imperial citizens. Standard protocol would be to execute all witnesses to demonic manifestation to prevent corruption from spreading. This unknown warrior prevented that from being necessary by keeping the civilians from being touched by the demon's direct influence. Lower your weapons, Stern orders. His knights comply instantly, though their readiness doesn't diminish. You, he addresses the Slayer directly, have fought demons with uncommon skill. Your weapons are unknown to us. Your armor bears no insignia of the Imperium. Yet you defended these citizens when you could have fled. The Slayer's visor finally turns toward Stern. the brother captain gets the distinct impression he's being assessed for threat level. Calculated, measured, the sensation is unsettling. Grey Knights are genetically and psychically conditioned to be the Imperium's apex demon hunters. To be evaluated in return as if he might be found wanting triggers instincts Stern didn't know he possessed. Then the armored figure does something unexpected. He points at the warp rift, then makes a throat-cutting gesture. Brother Hadrian, the squad's youngest member, speaks up. He wants to close it? The rift? The Slayer nods once. Sharp, definitive. Closing a rift of this magnitude requires ritual and time. Stern explains, uncertain why he's explaining anything to this unknown entity. We must establish a psychic perimeter, chant the canticles of banishment, and channel the Emperor's light through. The Slayer is already moving toward the rift. Storm bolters track him automatically, but Stern doesn't give the order to fire. Curiosity stays his hand. What is this armored warrior planning? The Slayer stops 3 meters from the rift's edge. The warp screams at him, howling winds of pure chaos that would drive unprotected humans mad. Demonic claws reach through, trying to grasp him, pull him back into the immaterium. He ignores them. From his back, he draws the crucible. The weapon activates with a sound like reality tearing in reverse. A blade of pure argent energy extends 2 meters from its hilt. Brilliant crimson that somehow seems more real than the physical world around it. The Grey Knight's psychic senses recoil from it. Not because it's corrupted, but because it registers as fundamentally wrong to the warp. Anathema. Anti-chaos. What in the Emperor's name? Castian begins. The Slayer drives the crucible into the stone floor directly in front of the warp rift. The blade sinks into reality itself like a nail driven through fabric. The effect is immediate and catastrophic for the rift. The tear in real space screams. The warp recoils from the crucible as if struck. The rift begins contracting, its edges pulling inward. Demons on the other side shrieking in fury and fear as their access to the material universe is severed. It's not a banishment, it's a rejection. The crucible establishes a field of absolute stability, and the warp simply cannot exist in proximity to it. In 15 seconds, the rift that would have required the hours of ritual and psychic exertion to close collapses completely. The crucible remains embedded in the floor, its crimson glow the only light in the suddenly silent palace. Brother Captain Stern has fought demons for 200 years. He's seen blessed weapons, holy relics, and the Emperor's own divine intervention. He's never seen anything like this. Impossible, Brother Hadrian whispers. The warp doesn't simply stop. It does for him. Stern responds quietly. The Slayer retrieves the crucible, and as the blade retracts, he turns back to face the Grey Knights. The weapon slides into its back-mounted holster with a metallic snick that sounds far too ordinary for something that just violated the fundamental laws of warp mechanics. Stern makes a decision. It might be the wrong decision. It might damn his soul and those of his men. But his instincts, honed through centuries of war, tell him that this warrior is not an enemy. I am Brother Captain Arvon Stern of the Grey Knights, Chapter 666 of the Adeptus Astartes. We are the Chamber Militant of the Ordo Malleus, and we have hunted demons since the Horus Heresy 10,000 years past. He deactivates his Nemesis Force sword and maglocks it to his armor, a gesture of conditional trust. You do not speak. You do not identify yourself, but you kill demons with a proficiency that rivals our own. The Slayer's posture doesn't change, but Stern senses attention focusing. I would know 3 things, Stern continues. First, are you human? A pause, then a nod. Yes. Second, Do you serve chaos? The response is immediate and visceral. The Slayer's entire body language shifts to aggressive posture. Both gauntlets clench into fists. The answer is clear, even without words. Absolutely not. Third, will you kill more demons if given the opportunity? This time, the nod is almost eager. Stern's lips quirk in what might be called a smile on a face that rarely shows any expression. Then we may have common cause, stranger. This world has 17 more hive cities. Intelligence suggests demonic incursions in at least 8 of them. Our numbers are limited. We cannot be everywhere. He gestures to his squad, who remain ready but no longer actively hostile. You have proven yourself in combat against the ruinous powers. Your methods are unorthodox. Your equipment unknown. But results speak louder than protocol. From his belt, Stern produces a small vox bead, a communication device. He tosses it to the Slayer, who catches it without looking. This will allow you to monitor our tactical channel. When we locate demon presence, you'll know. What you do with that information is your choice. The Slayer examines the vox bead, then crushes it in his gauntlet. The Grey Knights tense again, but the armored warrior isn't discarding it in rejection. He's extracting the transmitter component, opening a panel on his armor's wrist mount, and integrating the Imperial technology directly into his suit systems. In 30 seconds, he's reverse-engineered and incorporated the vox bead into his equipment. Brother Castian laughs, a strange sound from a Grey Knight. He's certainly adaptable. One more thing, Stern adds. There is an Inquisitor Lord aboard our strike cruiser in orbit, Lord Eisenhorn. He will want to meet you, examine you, determine if you're a threat to the Imperium. Stern's tone carries a warning. Inquisitors have absolute authority. They can order exterminatus, the complete annihilation of worlds. If Eisenhorn deems you corrupted or too dangerous, he will try to eliminate you. The Slayer's response is to turn away, toward where his suit's sensors are detecting another demon signature 3 kilometers east. The message is clear. He has work to do. He doesn't care about Inquisitors, Brother Hadrian observes. No, Stern agrees. He cares about demons, which makes him either the greatest ally we could ask for. He watches the armored figure begin moving toward the new contact, methodically reloading his weapons as he walks. Or the most dangerous independent actor in the sector. The older woman, still huddled with the other survivors, calls out one more time. What should we call him? The angels should have a name for the one who saved us. Brother Captain Stern considers. He thinks of the demon corpses, the closed rift, the absolute certainty of purpose in that armored figure. He thinks of ancient texts he's read about humanity's early wars before they reached the stars. The Slayer, he says finally. Call him the Slayer. The name feels right, appropriate, inevitable. In the distance, the sound of his weapons fire echoes through Tertium Majoris. Demons are learning fear. The strike cruiser Unrelenting Vigil maintains high orbit above Tertium Majoris, its gun decks trained on population centers that might require orbital bombardment if the demon incursion cannot be contained. On the command bridge, Lord Inquisitor Gregor Eisenhorn stands before the hololith display, watching tactical feeds from the planet's surface with growing fascination and concern. Eisenhorn is a legend within the Ordo Malleus. 3 centuries of service. Countless demonic incursions defeated, heretical cults purged, forbidden knowledge cataloged and secured. His face bears the scars of 100 battles, psychic and physical. His eyes have witnessed horrors that would shatter lesser minds. He has stared into the warp and remained himself. But what he's seeing on these feeds challenges even his considerable experience. Replay the Tertium Majoris Palace incident, he commands. Full spectrum, psychic overlay. The servitor hardwired into the hololith terminal complies with machine efficiency. The holographic projection shifts, displaying Brother Captain Stern's helmet cam footage. Eisenhorn watches the armored stranger face the greater demon of Slaanesh. Watches the weapon, that impossible green plasma weapon, fire. Watches the Keeper of Secrets die, not banished, but truly killed. Enhance the weapon signature during discharge, Eisenhorn orders. The hololith zooms in, breaking down the energy readings frame by frame. The plasma doesn't register as Imperial plasma technology. It's not Xenos. The signature matches no known alien weapon in the Inquisition's extensive archives. Most disturbing, the energy contains no warp taint. Yet it damages demons with a finality that should be impossible without psychic reinforcement. Eisenhorn's savant, Ubel, a hunched figure more augmetics than flesh, shuffles forward. My lord, the stranger's armor also defies classification. See here. Skeletal fingers tap the display. Self-repairing capabilities beyond even the most sophisticated power armor. Environmental sealing that functioned in the warp itself. Weapon integration that suggests machine spirit sophistication rivaling the Mechanicus's most sacred designs. Or Heratech innovation, Eisenhorn murmurs. Dark Age technology, perhaps. Something from an STC fragment recovered in secret. With respect, my lord, Ubel rasps. Dark Age technology still follows comprehensible principles. This doesn't. The crucible blade that closed the rift. I've analyzed the psychic resonance 17 times. It's not anti-psyker technology like a null field. It's something that makes the warp itself reject its presence. Eisenhorn turns from the display. Summarize what we know for certain. Ubel consults data slate implants wired directly into his brain. The stranger appeared through the warp rift itself, entering from the immaterium rather than being pulled in. He fought through demon-infested territory to protect Imperial civilians. He killed a greater demon in single combat. He closed a major rift in seconds. He cooperates conditionally with Brother Captain Stern, but refuses formal identification or authority recognition. And he integrates Imperial technology on site, Eisenhorn adds. The Vox-Speed interface took him 30 seconds. That suggests either extensive technical training or... He trails off, considering implications he doesn't like. Or what, my lord? Or adaptive intelligence operating beyond baseline human capability, enhanced cognition, possibly through augmentation, possibly through other means. The unspoken suggestion hangs in the air. Chaos, corruption, demonic possession, Xenos contamination, all things an Inquisitor is sworn to destroy on sight. But if that were the case, the Grey Knights would have killed him. Brother Captain Stern is no fool. If the stranger bore the taint of chaos, Stern's psychic senses would have detected it immediately. Instead, Stern gave him a Vox bead and tactical cooperation. A chime sounds, incoming Vox from the surface. Eisenhorn activates it. Report. Brother Castian's voice crackles through, distorted by atmospheric interference. Inquisitor Lord, this is Brother Castian of Squad Stern. The stranger has engaged demon forces in Hive Tertium Secundus. You should see this. The tactical feed switches to real time. Eisenhorn leans closer. Hive Tertium Secundus is a nightmare landscape. Hab blocks torn open like flesh wounds, fires burning with warp-tainted flames that cast purple and pink light across twisted metal. a warband of chaos cultists has summoned a pack of fleshhounds, Khorne's demonic hunting beasts. 30 of the brass-skinned monsters with molten blood dripping from their jaws, immune to psychic attacks, relentless in pursuit of prey. The Slayer is in the middle of them. Eisenhorn has seen Space Marines fight fleshhounds. Even Grey Knights approach these creatures with caution. Their collar of Khorne makes them resistant to psychic powers, forcing melee combat where their supernatural strength and speed give them advantage. Standard protocol is overwhelming force and defensive positioning. The Slayer uses neither. He moves through them like a dancer in a slaughterhouse. The chain gun in his hands roars, not suppressive fire, but precision bursts. 3 round groups that track individual fleshhounds even as they bound and leap at impossible speeds. When they close to melee range, he doesn't retreat. His gauntlet punches through a hound's skull, crushing bone and demonic essence together. He grabs another by its throat, lifts it overhead, and uses it as a bludgeon against 2 more. A fleshhound lands on his back, jaws clamping down on his armor's shoulder plating. Eisenhorn expects to see the Slayer struggle, attempt to dislodge it. Instead, the armored warrior reaches back, grabs the demon by its lower jaw, and rips it in half with bare hands. "Emperor's mercy," Ubel whispers. The Slayer discards the corpse and immediately engages 3 more hounds converging from different vectors. His combat shotgun appears in his hands. When did he switch weapons? And the weapon speaks thunder. Each blast doesn't just wound the demons, it obliterates them. The ammunition he's using must be something beyond standard mass reactive bolts. Within 90 seconds, all 30 fleshhounds are dead or dying. The Slayer stands amid the carnage, weapons already reloading automatically, visors scanning for the next threat. The Chaos cultists who summoned the hounds are next. They try to flee. It doesn't help. Eisenhorn watches the strangers systematically eliminate them. Not with the righteous fury of an Imperial soldier or the cold efficiency of an assassin, but with something else. Inevitability. He pursues them the way gravity pulls objects downward. Not fast, not slow. Constant. Inevitable. Inescapable. The last cultist, cornered in a destroyed chapel defaced with the 8-pointed star of chaos, falls to his knees. "Please, mercy. The dark gods promised." The Slayer's fist crushes the cultist's skull before the sentence finishes. No hesitation. No interest in what the dark gods promised. "Brother Castian," Eisenhorn transmits. "What are your psychic readings on the stranger during combat?" "Minimal warp interaction, my lord. He's not using psyker abilities. His aggression doesn't feed Khorne. We'd sense the blood god's pleasure if it did. He's just..." Castian pauses, searching for words. "He's just very, very good at killing demons." Eisenhorn terminates the feed and turns to face the command bridge's viewport. Below, Tertium Majoris spins, half its surface lit by burning hive cities. Somewhere down there, an unknown warrior in unknown armor is systematically exterminating demonic presence with efficiency that rivals entire Grey Knight strike forces. Ubel, compile a threat assessment. Assume worst-case scenario. The stranger is corrupted, he's Xenos-influenced, or he's a weapon created by forces hostile to the Imperium. What's our operational response? The savant's augmetic eyes whir and click as he processes. Orbital bombardment would be ineffective. His armor survived the warp itself. Assassination via Vindicare would require clear line of sight and multiple shots, which his combat awareness makes unlikely. Psychic assault via Primaris Psyker would... Ubel stops, data scrolling across his optical implants. Would likely fail. His mind registered as resistant even to Brother Captain Stern's passive psychic senses. So, conventional means of elimination are questionable at best. Yes, my lord. Eisenhorn's jaw tightens. He despises uncertainty. 3 centuries of service have taught him that unknown variables in demon incursions are usually fatal. But he's also learned that dogmatic adherence to protocol sometimes blinds the Inquisition to useful assets. Alternative assessment, he says. Assume best case. The stranger is genuinely opposed to chaos. His methods are unorthodox but effective, and he can be directed toward strategic targets. What's the potential value? Ubel processes for 3 seconds. An eternity for his augmented cognition. Extraordinary, my lord. Current demon presence across Tertium Majoris includes an estimated 3,000 lesser demons, 40 greater demons, and unconfirmed reports of a demon prince leading the incursion. Our 50 Grey Knights, even with supporting Imperial Guard forces, would require 6 weeks to fully purge the world. Casualties would be severe. And with the stranger? Unknown. But extrapolating from current performance, 2 weeks, my lord. Perhaps less. He eliminates demon presence faster than they can reinforce from the warp. 2 weeks versus 6. Thousands of Imperial lives saved. Multiple Grey Knights who won't die in protracted combat. The difference between saving Tertium Majoris and condemning it to exterminatus. Eisenhorn has made harder choices. Prepare a shuttle, he orders. I'm going to the surface. My lord? Ubel's surprise is evident despite his monotone. Direct contact with an unknown entity of this power is exactly what an Inquisitor does. Eisenhorn interrupts. Brother Captain Stern can fight beside him. I need to speak with him, determine if he's an ally, a threat, or something else entirely. And if he proves hostile? Eisenhorn's hand rests on his bolt pistol, a master-crafted weapon that has killed heretics, Xenos, and demon-possessed alike. Then I'll do what I've always done, Ubel. Whatever is necessary. 30 minutes later, the Inquisitor's shuttle screams through Tertium Majoris's ash-choked atmosphere. Eisenhorn watches the surface approach through the viewport, his psychic senses extended, searching for the stranger's signature among the warp taint that blankets the world. He finds it. Not because the Slayer registers psychically, but because he's a void in the demon presence. Wherever he goes, the warp screams and retreats. It's like watching a black hole move across a star field, visible only by the absence of light around it. The shuttle sets down in a cleared zone, a plaza that 30 minutes ago was crawling with bloodletters and now contains only bodies rapidly dissolving into warp essence. The Slayer stands at the center, reloading weapons with methodical precision. Eisenhorn descends the assault ramp, flanked by 4 stormtroopers in carapace armor. He's faced down demon lords before, stared into the eyes of greater demons, negotiated with entities that predate human civilization. But when the Slayer's visor turns toward him, Eisenhorn feels something he hasn't experienced in decades. Genuine uncertainty about the outcome of this conversation. I am Lord Inquisitor Gregor Eisenhorn, he announces, voice carrying across the plaza. We need to talk. The Slayer doesn't respond, doesn't move. Simply watches Eisenhorn with that expressionless visor. Weapons mag-locked to his armor, but within instant reach. The stormtroopers flanking the Inquisitor shift nervously. They're veteran soldiers who fought on a dozen worlds. But something about the silent warrior's absolute stillness triggers primal instincts. Eisenhorn dismisses his guards with a gesture. Wait by the shuttle. This conversation is private. My lord, protocol states... The lead stormtrooper begins. I'm aware of protocol, Sergeant Kale. I wrote half of it. Eisenhorn's tone allows no argument. If this warrior wanted me dead, your presence wouldn't prevent it. Go. The stormtroopers reluctantly withdraw. Eisenhorn approaches the Slayer alone, stopping 5 meters away. Close enough for conversation, far enough to react if necessary. His psychic senses remain extended, probing not for hostile intent, but for any reading at all. The void in the warp remains absolute where the Slayer stands. You don't speak, Eisenhorn observes. Can't or won't. The Slayer taps his throat, then shakes his head. Can't. Injury? Augmentation gone wrong? When no response comes, Eisenhorn tries a different approach. I've interrogated thousands of subjects. Words aren't the only form of communication. Your actions speak clearly enough. You kill demons. You protect Imperial civilians. You cooperate with the Grey Knights, but refuse formal authority. He pauses. The question is, why? The Slayer's response is to point at a cluster of dead blood letters, then make that same throat-cutting gesture he used with Brother Captain Stern. The message is brutally simple, because they exist. A crusade, then. Personal vendetta against demons. Eisenhorn's eyes narrow. In my experience, such single-minded hatred comes from personal loss. What did the demons take from you? For a long moment, nothing. Then the Slayer's gauntlet clenches. Slowly, and Eisenhorn's psychic senses detect something, not from the warrior himself, but from the memory surrounding him. Echoes of trauma so profound, it's left psychic scars in reality itself. Screaming, fire, loss so complete it transcended death. Everything, Eisenhorn whispers, understanding. They took everything. The Slayer nods once, sharp, definitive. Eisenhorn has seen this before. Survivors of demon incursions who become obsessed with revenge. Usually, they die quickly, consumed by grief and rage. Sometimes, they live long enough to become useful to the Inquisition before their inevitable demise. Rarely, so rarely it's barely worth cataloging, they transcend their trauma and become something more dangerous than the demons they hunt. This warrior, Eisenhorn suspects, has done more than transcend. He's weaponized his trauma. The Imperium has fought chaos for 10,000 years, Eisenhorn says. Since the Horus Heresy, when half our Space Marine legions turned traitor and nearly destroyed humanity. We've perfected demon hunting into science and religion both. The Grey Knights are gene-forged from the Emperor's own bloodline, psycho-conditioned to resist corruption, trained from childhood in techniques passed down through centuries. He gestures at the plaza of demon corpses. Yet, you match their kill rate as a single operator. How? The Slayer doesn't answer the question. Instead, he reaches to his back and draws the crucible. The blade activates, that crimson energy that makes reality itself seem more solid around it. He holds it out toward Eisenhorn, not threateningly, but as demonstration. Eisenhorn's psychic senses recoil reflexively. The weapon is anathema to the warp, yes, but there's something else. The energy fueling it tastes like demons. Not chaos, distinctly not chaos, but demonic essence nonetheless. He probes deeper, carefully. Emperor's throne, Eisenhorn breathes. You're absorbing them. The demons you kill, their essence feeds your weapons, your armor. Understanding crashes over him like a tidal wave. You're not just killing them, you're consuming them. The Slayer deactivates the crucible and holsters it. Nods affirmation. That should be impossible. Consuming demonic essence is how chaos corrupts psychers, how cultists gain power from the ruinous powers. The warp taints everything it touches. How are you? Eisenhorn stops himself. Wrong question. You're not drawing power from the warp. You're taking it before it returns to the warp, intercepting the demon's essence at the moment of death. Another nod. Eisenhorn's mind races through implications. If this technology could be replicated, if the Mechanicus could study it, if the Imperium could field weapons that not only killed demons but prevented their reformation in the warp. But no, he's seen enough forbidden technology to recognize something beyond Imperial science. This isn't just advanced engineering. This is something that required different universal laws to create. You're not from this galaxy, Eisenhorn states, not from this universe. The Slayer remains still, but his posture shifts slightly. Confirmation. Warp travel can occasionally breach dimensional barriers, Eisenhorn muses. Extremely rare, but documented in the Inquisitorial archives. Ships lost in the warp emerge centuries early or late, sometimes in regions of space that don't exist in our reality. But a person surviving transit between universes. He studies the Slayer's armor again. Your technology protected you, kept you intact when crossing the barrier. The Slayer taps his chest plate, then points upward, toward the warp rift position where he first emerged. You came through the rift, from the Immaterium itself. Eisenhorn's respect deepens despite himself. You survived in the warp without Geller fields, without navigators, without any of the protections we've developed over millennia. That should have killed you or driven you mad or transformed you into a demon thing. The Slayer's response is to tap his helmet, his head, then point at his weapons. The message: I was already prepared, already equipped. Your universe has demons too, Eisenhorn realizes. Different laws, different physics, but fundamentally similar threat. You've been fighting them for how long? The Slayer doesn't answer numerically. Instead, he makes a gesture. Continuous motion, cycling, endless, forever. Emperor's mercy. Eisenhorn processes this. A warrior from another universe, one where demon hunting isn't humanity's organized military response, but a single individual's eternal crusade. And now you're here, in our universe, where our demons exist. The Slayer's posture shifts to something almost eager. Yes, more demons, more to kill. Eisenhorn makes a decision that will likely be debated in inquisitorial councils for decades, assuming he survives long enough to report it. Tertium Majoris has 17 hive cities. 8 have confirmed demon presence. One reportedly hosts a demon prince of Khorne, a mortal who ascended to demonhood, commanding thousands of lesser entities. The Grey Knights will assault the demon prince's position in 36 hours, once we've cleared supporting infestations. He produces a data slate from his coat, activates the hololith projection. A map of Tertium Majoris appears, 8 locations marked in red. These are the confirmed infestation sites. Priority targets before we move on the Demon Prince. The Slayer studies the map for exactly 3 seconds, then nods. He's memorized it. I'm not giving you orders, Eisenhorn clarifies. The Inquisition's authority means nothing to you, and I'm pragmatic enough to recognize that. I'm providing intelligence. What you do with it is your choice. He deactivates the slate. But understand this, if you engage the Demon Prince alone, you'll die. These aren't lesser demons or even keepers of secrets. A Demon Prince is a mortal who consumed so much warp power they transcended flesh entirely. They're immortal, unkillable except through methods even the Grey Knights struggle with. The Slayer's response is to check his ammunition counter, then look back at Eisenhorn. The message is clear. I've killed worse. Confidence or suicide? Eisenhorn mutters. I genuinely can't tell which. He turns to leave, then pauses. One more thing. Your presence here changes the strategic situation. Every demon on this world now knows something that kills them permanently has arrived. They'll adapt, hunt you specifically. The Chaos Gods themselves might take notice. The Slayer's posture shifts to something that might be satisfaction. Good. Let them come. Eisenhorn shakes his head. You're either the bravest human I've met or the most suicidally reckless. Possibly both. He starts walking back toward his shuttle, then calls over his shoulder. Brother Captain Stern suggested calling you Slayer. It's appropriately descriptive. Unless you object? No objection. The Slayer is already moving toward the nearest red marker on the map. A cathedral district 3 kilometers north where pink horrors have been sighted. Eisenhorn watches him go. This interdimensional demon hunter who treats the 41st millennium's greatest existential threat as target practice. The Inquisitor has overseen thousands of operations, deployed weapons of unimaginable power, made choices that damned worlds to save sectors. But he's never deployed anything quite like this. Sergeant Kale, he voxes as he boards the shuttle. Contact Brother Captain Stern. Tell him the Slayer is engaging targets independently. The Grey Knights should coordinate, but not interfere unless requested. My lord, is that wise? An unsupervised asset of unknown loyalty? Isn't unsupervised. Eisenhorn interrupts. I'm monitoring him, and loyalty. Loyalty is simpler than you think, Sergeant. The Slayer is loyal to exactly one thing: killing demons. As long as our goals align with his, we have an ally. The shuttle lifts off, engines screaming. The moment they don't, well, that's why I'm watching. Below, the Slayer reaches the cathedral district. Eisenhorn's tactical feed shows pink horrors manifesting in packs, unstable demon things that split into blue horrors when killed, each one capable of warping reality with barely a thought. Standard Imperial doctrine is to eliminate them from range. Never engage in melee, where their reality warping abilities are most dangerous. The Slayer charges directly into their midst. Insane, Eisenhorn murmurs, but he's smiling slightly. Absolutely insane. The pink horrors discover that reality warping abilities mean nothing when your target doesn't care about reality. The Slayer tears through them with his bare hands when his ammunition runs low, ripping demonic essence apart the way a child might tear paper. When they split into blue horrors, he simply kills those too. Faster, more efficiently. Eisenhorn watches until the last demon falls, then switches to the next tactical feed. 7 more infestation sites to clear. 36 hours until the assault on the demon prince. Ubel, he transmits to orbit. Revise our operational timeline. I believe we may complete this cleansing faster than projected. How much faster, my lord? Eisenhorn looks at the tactical map, watching the red markers begin to fade as the Slayer systematically destroys demon presence at each site. Significantly, on the ground, the Slayer doesn't pause to rest, doesn't slow. There are demons ahead. That's all that matters. That's all that's ever mattered. The cathedral district burns with cleansing fire. 16 hours later, 5 of the 8 infestation sites are purged. The Grey Knights maintain a tactical perimeter around each location the Slayer cleanses, preventing demon reinforcements and evacuating surviving civilians. It's a strange partnership. The Emperor's finest demon hunters serving as support for a single warrior whose methods defy every tactical doctrine they've trained in. Brother Captain Stern watches from a fortified position as the Slayer emerges from Hive Tertium Quintus's Promethium refineries. The entire facility is ablaze, warp-tainted flames mixing with actual chemical fires. Demonettes had infested the refineries, using captured workers to fuel profane rituals. Standard protocol would be orbital bombardment to prevent the corruption from spreading. The Slayer walked in alone 2 hours ago. Now he walks out, armor scorched but intact, dragging the corpse of a Slaanesh herald behind him. He dumps it at the perimeter line, nods to Stern, and immediately checks his tactical display for the next target. He doesn't rest, Brother Hadrian observes. Doesn't stop. We've been rotating shifts to maintain alertness. He's been in continuous combat for 16 hours. 17, Brother Castian corrects, if you count the initial palace engagement. Stern studies the Slayer through his helmet's advanced optics. The armor shows damage, scorch marks, claw gouges, acid burns. But it's self-repairing in real time. Micro servos and what looks like liquid metal flowing across breaches, sealing them. The technology is decades beyond anything the Mechanicus produces, yet it operates without machine spirits, without the sacred rituals that Imperial tech requires. His ammunition, Stern says. He's been firing non-stop. How hasn't he run dry? Brother Castian consults his Auspex readings. I don't know, Brother Captain. His weapons appear to fabricate ammunition internally. The chain gun alone should have exhausted its supply 8 engagements ago. Instead, it continues firing as if drawing from an infinite magazine. Nothing is infinite, Stern murmurs. But watching the Slayer reload, smooth, practiced, faster than any unaugmented human should move, he's not certain anymore. The Vox crackles. Lord Inquisitor Eisenhorn's voice cuts through. Brother Captain, I'm deploying you to Hive Tertium Sextus. Intelligence suggests a Skulltaker is leading the demon forces there. Stern's blood chills slightly. Skulltakers are greater demons of Khorne. Bloodletters elevated to demonhood through exceptional slaughter, wielding blades that can decapitate even space marines in a single stroke. They collect the skulls of mighty warriors, offering them to Khorne's throne. Facing one requires multiple Grey Knights and careful coordination. Acknowledged, my lord. Squad Stern will deploy immediately. Negative, Eisenhorn interrupts. The Slayer is already en route. Your backup in case he requires extraction. Stern blinks. Requires extraction. The Inquisitor speaks as if the Slayer might actually need rescue from a greater demon, rather than assuming he'll simply kill it like he has everything else. My lord, a Skulltaker is not a lesser demon. Its combat prowess rivals our own. Sending any warrior alone against such a threat is... I'm aware of the risk, Brother Captain. But observe. The tactical feed switches to aerial surveillance from one of the Inquisition's servo skulls. The Slayer is already moving through Hive Tertium Sextus's hab blocks, following a trail of carnage that leads deeper into demon-held territory. He's tracking it, hunting it specifically. How can he track a demon's signature without psychic abilities? His armor, Eisenhorn replies. I've analyzed the sensor readings. It detects warp presence through some mechanism I don't fully understand. Not psychic awareness, but technological detection. Like an Auspex, but better, more precise. The Slayer reaches the kill zone, a massive arena that was once a civic gathering space, now transformed into an abattoir. Khornat symbols cover every surface, painted in blood that still steams despite being days old. Skulls arranged in pyramids line the walls, thousands of them, offerings to the blood god. At the center stands the Skulltaker, 4 meters of brass muscle and fury, its armor forged from the rage of 1,000 wars. The demon blade in its hands thrums with power that makes even the servo skull's sensors flicker. Its skull face contains eyes like burning coals, and when it speaks, the words are violence made audible. Finally, worthy prey. The Slayer's response is to draw the super shotgun and fire both barrels. The Skull Taker moves impossibly fast, closing 20 meters in a second, blade raised to cleave the Slayer in half. The blow would shear through ceramite, through adamantium, through anything mortal crafted. The demon has collected the skulls of chapter masters, of inquisitor lords, of heroes whose names are sung in the Imperium's holiest halls. The Slayer catches the blade, not with his weapons, with his hand, bare gauntlet against demon-forged metal, and somehow, the blade stops. The Skull Taker's eyes widen in what might be shock. It pushes harder, channeling Khorne's own strength through the weapon. The Slayer pushes back. For 3 seconds, they're locked in a contest of pure physical force. The Skull Taker is a greater demon, empowered by one of the 4 gods that have plagued humanity for 10,000 years. The Slayer is a human in armor, bleeding from a dozen wounds, having fought non-stop for 17 hours. The Slayer wins. He twists the blade aside, steps inside the demon's guard, and drives his fist into its brass chest plate. Once, twice, 3 times. Each impact creates shock waves that shatter the skulls decorating the arena. The Skull Taker staggers, and the Slayer follows up with a barrage from his plasma rifle at point-blank range. Blue-white fire engulfs the greater demon. It screams, not in pain, but in rage, and swings its blade in a wild arc. The Slayer ducks under it, slides between the demon's legs, and comes up behind it. The chain gun spins up, and he pours fire into the Skull Taker's back at a range where he can't possibly miss. "Impossible," Brother Hadrian whispers, watching the feed. He's fighting a greater demon in melee combat and winning. Not winning, Stern corrects quietly. Look closer. He's right. The Slayer is taking damage. The Skull Taker's blade finally connects, carving a gouge through his shoulder armor deep enough to expose the underlying mechanisms. The demon's fist catches him in the ribs, sending him crashing through 3 skull pyramids. When he rises, his movements are fractionally slower. But slower doesn't mean stopped. The Slayer draws the crucible. The crimson blade ignites, and the Skull Taker's rage transforms into something else. Recognition. The demon remembers this weapon, or something like it, from when it first manifested in the Materium. It remembers blades that could end demons permanently, that could deny Khorne his due. You wield the ending blade. Good. A worthy death for a worthy skull. They clash again. Demon sword against crucible, and this time the weapons are matched. The Skull Taker has millennia of combat experience. Techniques perfected across 10,000 battlefields. The Slayer has something else. Absolute, unrelenting determination that transcends skill. The fight devolves into brutal simplicity. Block, counter, strike, dodge. The arena floor cracks under their impacts. The air itself seems to scream from the violence. This isn't the clean combat of dueling masters. This is 2 apex predators trying to tear each other apart with anything available. The Slayer loses his left arm. The Skull Taker's blade finally finds its mark, shearing through the elbow joint, severing the limb completely. The armored forearm clatters to the ground, still clutching the plasma rifle. Brother Hadrian starts to move. We have to intervene. Stern holds up a hand. Wait. The Slayer doesn't scream, doesn't stumble. His armor's auto-injectors flood his system with combat stimulants and coagulants. The stump seals instantly, mechanisms compensating for the lost limb. And then he does something the Skulltaker doesn't expect. He smiles. The Grey Knights can't see his face through the helmet, but his body language shifts. The loss of his arm hasn't stopped him. It's freed him. One less thing to worry about. One less distraction from the kill. The crucible blade drives forward with every ounce of strength the Slayer possesses. The Skulltaker tries to parry, but the angle is wrong. Its guard compromised from overextension. The crimson energy punches through brass armor, through demonic flesh, through the core of warp essence that sustains the greater demon. The Skulltaker looks down at the blade embedded in its chest, then at the Slayer. Then it laughs, a sound like cities burning. Khorne will remember you, Slayer. Your skull will have honor upon his throne. The greater demon dissipates, not banished back to the warp, but destroyed. Its essence flows into the crucible, into the Slayer's armor, making the systems glow brighter for a moment. The collection of skulls in the arena crumbles to dust. Without the demon's presence sustaining them, the Khorne magic fails. The Slayer stands alone in the silent arena, one arm gone, armor damaged, bleeding from wounds that would kill an unaugmented human. Then he reaches down, picks up his severed arm, and walks back toward the Grey Knight's position. Squad Stern, converge on his location, Stern orders. He needs medical. The Slayer waves him off with his remaining hand. Negative. No medical assistance required. He produces a device from his belt, some kind of emergency repair tool, and begins field stripping his severed arm for salvageable components. He's cannibalizing his own equipment, Brother Castian says, stunned. 4 repairs. Within 5 minutes, the Slayer has integrated several components from the severed arm into his remaining weapon systems. The plasma rifle's power cell gets upgraded. Additional ammunition storage moves to his chest rig. He discards the now useless armor plating and continues moving. Stern approaches carefully. Slayer, you're injured. You've lost a limb. Even Space Marines require time to recover from such wounds. The Slayer looks at him, then at the tactical display showing 2 remaining infestation sites before the Demon Prince's location. He points at them, then at himself. The message, I can continue. You can barely hold your weapons. The Slayer demonstrates by drawing his shotgun one-handed, firing at a piece of debris 20 meters away and hitting center mass. The recoil that would break an unaugmented human's wrist barely moves him. Point made, he holsters the weapon and starts walking toward the next target. Brother Captain, Eisenhorn's voice cuts in via Vox. Let him go. My lord, he's compromised. His combat effectiveness has decreased by approximately 15% according to my analysis. Eisenhorn interrupts. He's still more effective than most of what we can field. And a pause. He won't stop anyway. You couldn't force him to rest if you tried. Stern knows the Inquisitor is right. The Slayer isn't fighting because someone ordered him to. He's fighting because it's what he does. It's all he does. The loss of an arm is just another obstacle to work around, another challenge to overcome. Very well, Stern concedes. But Squad Stern will shadow him. If he falters, you'll be there. Eisenhorn finishes. Agreed. 2 more sites, Brother Captain. Then we face the Demon Prince. And for that, I suspect we'll need every asset we have, even wounded ones. The Slayer disappears into the Hive City's labyrinthine streets, hunting the next Daemon signature. Behind him, 5 Grey Knights follow at a respectful distance, watching the back of a warrior who just killed a greater demon with 1 arm. Brother Hadrian voices what they're all thinking. How is he still standing? Hate. Brother Castian answers simply. Pure, absolute hate for demons. I've felt righteous fury. I've channeled the Emperor's wrath. This is different. He doesn't hate them for what they represent. He hates them for existing. Stern nods slowly. In some ways, that makes him more dangerous than any demon we've faced. To the demons, yes. Hadrian agrees. No, Stern says quietly. To everyone. Because when the demons are gone, what happens to that much hate with nothing to focus on? None of them have an answer. The demon prince of Khorne knows the Slayer is coming. In the warp, information travels through emotions and intention rather than physical signals. Every demon the Slayer has killed sends ripples through the immaterium. Fear, rage, confusion. These ripples coalesce into a message that even the most powerful entities cannot ignore. Something is hunting them. The demon prince, who once bore the name Vrakash, before ascending to demonhood through the slaughter of 17 imperial worlds, stands atop the ruins of Tertium Majoris's capital spire. Its form towers 8 meters tall, a grotesque fusion of mortal warrior and Khornate blessing. Wings of brass and bone spread from its back. Armor forged from the rage of dying stars covers its body. In its hands, it wields a demon blade the size of a grown man, a weapon that has tasted the blood of chapter masters and primarchs alike. Around it, the last concentrated demon force on Tertium Majoris gathers. 300 bloodletters, 50 fleshhounds, a dozen bloodthirsters, greater demons in their own right, each commanding hosts of lesser entities. This is the heart of the incursion, the central point from which chaos has spread across the world. The demon prince's voice booms across the ruins. The Slayer approaches, the one who ends. Khorne has whispered his name in my dreams. A bloodthirster, its massive axe crackling with warp lightning, steps forward. We should strike first, hunt him before he reaches this sanctum. No. The demon prince's eyes, like furnaces burning with millennia of hate, scan the approaching hab blocks. He has killed a keeper of secrets, a skull taker, dozens of lesser entities. Such slaughter. Khorne is pleased. The blood god watches with interest. Then we honor the blood god by offering this Slayer's skull. Perhaps the demon prince flexes its claws. Or perhaps Khorne sends him as a test, to see if we are worthy of our power. Either way, blood will flow. Skulls will be taken. The blood god cares not from whence they come. 20 kilometers away, Lord Inquisitor Eisenhorn coordinates the final assault from a mobile command center. An armored chimera transport bristling with auspex arrays and communications equipment. Hololithic displays show the convergence of forces. 50 Grey Knights moving into assault positions. 12 chimeras carrying Imperial Guard support elements. And the Slayer's lone signal approaching from the south. All units, final briefing. Eisenhorn transmits. The target is a demon prince of Khorne, supported by the largest demon concentration we've encountered. Standard demon prince elimination protocols. Grey Knights establish psychic perimeter. Channel the Emperor's light to weaken the entity. Coordinate fire teams to exploit vulnerabilities. Brother Captain Stern's voice cuts in. Inquisitor Lord, the Slayer is not responding to coordination requests. He's accelerating, moving directly toward the target without waiting for our assault to begin. Eisenhorn closes his eyes, frustration warring with resignation. Of course he is. Can you interdict? Negative. He's moving through sectors we haven't cleared. Even if we could reach him, I doubt he'd stop. Then we accelerate our timeline. All units advance immediately. We support the Slayer's assault whether he requested it or not. Ubel, hunched over his sensor arrays, looks up with mechadendrites twitching nervously. My lord, his biometric readings are concerning. Blood loss from the severed arm continues despite cauterization. Combat stimulant levels in his system are approaching toxicity. His armor's power reserves are at 43%. He's operating well below optimal parameters. He's been operating below optimal parameters since he arrived. Eisenhorn mutters. It hasn't stopped him yet. The Slayer moves through the ruins of Outer Tertium Primus with predatory focus. His remaining arm holds the super shotgun, freshly loaded. The crucible rests ready on his back mount. His sensors have detected the massive demon concentration ahead, 362 distinct warp signatures, including 13 that register as Greater Demon class. By any rational calculation, assaulting that concentration alone is suicide. The Slayer has never been rational. He emerges into the kill zone, a massive plaza surrounding the capital's spire, deliberately cleared of cover to create an ideal battlefield. The demon horde waits, arranged not for defense, but for spectacle. Bloodletters stand in ranks, hell blades raised. Fleshhounds prowl the perimeter. Bloodthirsters hover above, wings beating with sounds like thunder. At the center, the demon prince sits on a throne of skulls, watching the Slayer approach with something almost like respect. You come alone. Good. Khorne despises cowardice. The Slayer's response is to draw the BFG 9000. Ah, the weapon that ended the Keeper. Show me its... The Slayer fires. The green plasma sphere crosses the plaza in a heartbeat, and the demon prince moves with supernatural speed, throwing itself aside. The BFG detonates where it sat, vaporizing the skull throne and a dozen bloodletters caught in the blast radius. The demon prince lands in a crouch, its brass wings spread, eyes blazing with fury and excitement. Yes, yes, this is what I craved. Real combat, real slaughter. It rises to its full height. Take him. The demon horde surges forward. The Slayer meets them with violence that transcends strategy. His super shotgun roars, each blast obliterating bloodletters. When they close to melee range, he uses the shotgun as a club with his remaining hand, crushing skulls with the weapon's reinforced stock. A fleshhound leaps at his throat. He catches it mid-air, snaps its neck, and throws the corpse into 3 more demons. His ammunition counter hits 0. He discards the shotgun and draws his combat knife, a blade barely 20 centimeters long, laughably insufficient against demon hordes. It doesn't matter. He wades into them, stabbing, slashing, using whatever weapon comes to hand. A bloodletter's hellblade becomes his weapon when he tears it from the demon's grasp and uses it to carve through 6 more. Blood flows. Demon essence and his own blood mix on the plaza stones. His armor's integrity drops to 30%. Warning klaxons scream in his helmet. His remaining arm has sustained fractures in 3 places. One leg drags slightly from severed actuators. He doesn't stop. Brother Captain Stern and his Grey Knights reach the plaza's edge just in time to witness the Slayer, surrounded by 50 bloodletters, literally rip one demon in half and use the pieces as improvised shields against the other's attacks. Emperor's blood, Brother Hadrian whispers. He's not fighting. He's making a statement. Stern sees it too. The Slayer isn't trying to survive this engagement. He's trying to kill as many demons as possible before his inevitable death. It's not bravery. It's not even tactics. It's mathematical. How many can he destroy before his body fails? Squad Stern, converge, Stern commands. Support fire, establish corridor to the Slayer's position. The Grey Knights open fire with storm bolters. blessed rounds chewing through demon flesh. Psychic lightning arcs from their Nemesis Force weapons, banishing lesser demons back to the warp. They carve a path through the horde, fighting toward the Slayer's position. The Demon Prince watches this with growing satisfaction. More warriors, more skulls, Khorne rejoices. It launches itself skyward on brass wings, then dive bombs toward the Grey Knights formation. Brother Castian tries to intercept with his Force halberd, but the Demon Prince swats him aside like an insect, sending the Grey Knight crashing through rubble. Its demon blade sweeps in a wide arc, forcing the entire squad to scatter. Psychic assault now, Stern commands. The Grey Knights channel their psychic power in unison, a technique perfected over 10,000 years, designed to weaken demonic presence through sheer faith and the Emperor's light. The air shimmers with holy energy. The Demon Prince staggers, its connection to the warp momentarily disrupted. That's when the Slayer strikes. He's fought through the bloodletter horde, leaving a trail of corpses, and now he's close enough. The crucible ignites, and he leaps, a one-armed, half-dead warrior, launching himself at a Demon Prince with nothing but hate and a crimson blade. The Demon Prince catches him mid-air, massive claws closing around his torso. Bold, foolish, but bold. It begins to squeeze. The Slayer's armor groans under the pressure. His ribs crack. Blood seeps from his helmet's seals. And he drives the crucible through the Demon Prince's wrist. The crimson blade severs the demon's hand at the joint, not just cutting, but erasing the flesh. The Demon Prince roars and drops the Slayer, who lands in a roll, comes up running, and activates his shoulder-mounted flamethrower at point-blank range. Prometheus engulfs the Demon Prince. It laughs. Fire means nothing to a being forged in the warp's heart. But the Slayer isn't using fire to kill. He's using it to obscure vision while he moves. The BFG 9000 comes off his back mount again. He's saved one shot, one last charge in a weapon that's carried him through hell itself. You cannot kill me with that weapon, Slayer. I am eternal. I am Khorne's chosen. I am... The Slayer fires the BFG at the ground beneath the Demon Prince's feet. The detonation rips through the plaza, shattering stone, destroying the carefully prepared kill zone, and most importantly, cracking the ground deep enough to reveal the underhive below. The Demon Prince plummets, caught off guard, crashing through layers of debris. The Slayer follows it down into the darkness. "No," Stern shouts, "don't pursue alone." But the Slayer is already gone, disappeared into the underhive where sensors can't track, where even Grey Knights would struggle to fight effectively. Alone with a wounded Demon Prince in the dark. Eisenhorn's voice crackles over the Vox, tight with tension. "Brother Captain, status?" The Slayer has taken the fight into the underhive. "We're moving to..." An explosion rocks the ground beneath their feet. Then another. The sounds of combat echo up from below. Weapons fire, roaring, the distinctive hum of the crucible. It lasts for 30 seconds. Then silence. For a long moment, nothing. Then the Demon Prince bursts upward through the rubble, wings beating frantically, armor shattered, bleeding warp essence from a dozen wounds. Its demon blade is gone. One eye has been destroyed. It's fleeing. "Tell your God Emperor," it bellows as it claws toward the sky, toward the warp rift it can feel pulsing above the world. Tell him the Slayer is more than mortal. Tell him Khorne himself takes note. Tell him. The Slayer emerges from the underhive crater, battered, broken, barely standing. In his remaining hand, he holds not a weapon, but a grappling hook integrated into his armor. He aims and fires. The hook catches the Demon Prince's leg. No. No. The Slayer plants his feet and pulls. The demon prince, massive and powerful, is dragged back down by a warrior who has long since exceeded human limitations through pure refusal to stop. They crash together into the crater, disappearing again into darkness. This time, when the sounds of combat emerge, they're shorter, more brutal, final. The Slayer climbs out of the Underhive 10 minutes later, dragging the Demon Prince's head. The head alone weighs as much as a Space Marine, but the Slayer hauls it to the plaza's center and drops it at Brother Captain Stern's feet. Then, for the first time since arriving in the 41st millennium, the Slayer collapses. The Slayer wakes to pain. It's familiar, comforting even. Pain means he's still alive, still capable of fighting. He catalogs the damage automatically. 3 ribs broken, left arm still missing, internal bleeding in at least 2 organs, armor integrity at 11%. His Praetor suit's auto-repair systems hum quietly, working overtime to keep him functional. He opens his eyes to find himself in a Medicae bay. Imperial design, sterile white walls covered in purity seals and aquilas. Medical servitors move about with mechanical precision, but they're not treating him. They're watching him from a safe distance, as if uncertain whether he's patient or threat. Lord Inquisitor Eisenhorn sits in a chair beside the bed, reading from a data slate. He looks up when the Slayer moves. "You've been unconscious for 6 hours," Eisenhorn says. "Your physiology is remarkable. Any normal human would have died from shock alone. Even Space Marines would require weeks of recovery from your injuries." He sets the data slate aside. "Yet, my Medici staff tells me you'll be combat ready in another 6 hours, 8 at most." The Slayer tries to sit up. His body screams protest, but he forces himself upright anyway. Eisenhorn makes no move to stop him. "Tertium Majoris is secured," the Inquisitor continues. "The remaining demon forces broke after you killed the Demon Prince. Without leadership, they scattered. The Grey Knights and Imperial Guard are conducting mop-up operations, but the organized resistance is finished." He pauses. "You saved this world. 18 billion people owe you their lives." The Slayer's response is to point at his weapons, currently arranged on a nearby table: super shotgun, plasma rifle, chain gun, the crucible. "Where are we going next?" "Directly to business. No rest, no recuperation." Eisenhorn actually smiles slightly. "I shouldn't be surprised. But before we discuss your next deployment," he leans forward, "we need to address a problem." The Slayer's visor turns toward him. Silent question. "Your arm." Eisenhorn gestures at the severed limb. "You're operating at reduced combat effectiveness. And while you've proven you can adapt, the strategic reality is that we're entering a broader campaign. Tertium Majoris was one world. The sector contains 17 inhabited systems, and intelligence suggests demon incursions in at least 8 of them." The Slayer's posture shifts. 8 more. Good. But to fight effectively across multiple worlds, you'll need repairs beyond what your suit can self-maintain. Eisenhorn produces a different data slate, this one showing technical schematics. The Adeptus Mechanicus has facilities on this ship. Tech priests who serve the Omnissiah, the machine aspect of the Emperor. They've expressed interest in your equipment. The Slayer's response is immediate and aggressive. He reaches for the super shotgun with his remaining hand. "Peace." Eisenhorn raises both hands. "I'm not suggesting they dismantle your weapons. I'm suggesting they might be able to help." The Mechanicus understands technology at a level beyond standard Imperial forces. If anyone can interface with your armor's systems, fabricate a replacement limb, assist with repairs, it would be them. The Slayer remains tense, suspicious. "I understand your hesitation," Eisenhorn continues. "Your equipment is your lifeline. In my investigations, I've encountered enough sacred technology to know that some things shouldn't be tampered with by those who don't understand it." He meets the Slayer's visor directly. "But consider, you're in a universe not your own. Eventually, even your self-repair systems will require resources they can't fabricate from local materials. Better to establish a working relationship now than face equipment failure in the middle of combat." It's sound logic. The Slayer knows it. His ammunition reserves are self-replenishing, but not infinite. They draw from base materials his suit harvests from the environment and demon essence he absorbs. His armor repairs itself, but it requires functional components to work with. The missing arm is a perfect example. Without a replacement, his suit can't regrow it. After a long moment, he nods. Conditional agreement. "Excellent. I'll arrange a meeting with Magos Viaros, the ranking tech priest aboard the Unrelenting Vigil. He's unusual for his kind. Less dogmatic, more practical. He understands that technology serves function, not the other way around." Eisenhorn stands, then pauses at the door. "One more thing. While you were unconscious, we detected something concerning. The Demon Prince's death sent shockwaves through the warp. The ruinous powers know about you now. They know something exists that can permanently kill their servants. You've graduated from local threat to strategic concern." His expression darkens. "Expect demon forces to actively hunt you from now on. They'll send assassins, champions, perhaps even demon lords directly." The Slayer's posture shifts to satisfaction. "Good. Let them come to him. Saves time." Eisenhorn shakes his head. "You're either the bravest soul I've met or completely insane. I genuinely haven't decided which." He leaves, the Medici Bay door sealing behind him. 30 minutes later, Magos Viaros arrives. The tech priest is more machine than man, his original body barely visible beneath layers of augmentation. Mechadendrites wave from his back like metal tentacles, each tipped with different tools. His eyes have been replaced by advanced optical arrays that whir and click as they focus. When he speaks, his voice is synthesized, emotionless, but there's an undertone of genuine curiosity. "Slayer, the Omnissiah's blessings upon your sacred war gear." Viaros approaches the weapons table slowly, reverently. "I have observed your equipment through combat footage. Its function transcends standard deviation from known technological patterns. I would request permission to examine." The Slayer remains still, measuring threat level, calculating risk. Viaros seems to understand the hesitation. "I am aware of Imperial protocol regarding xenotech and archaeotech. Typically, unknown technology is either destroyed or claimed by the Mechanicus for study, often without regard for its users' needs." His mechadendrites gesture dismissively. "I find such practices inefficient. You wield these weapons with masterful proficiency. They have proven effective against entities that resist conventional armaments. To interfere with this function would be illogical." The tech priest produces a small device, some kind of scanner. "I propose, allow me to examine your equipment non-invasively. I will not touch, not disassemble, merely observe. In exchange, I will fabricate a replacement limb compatible with your armor's integration points. And..." He pauses, mechadendrites twitching with what might be excitement. "I may be able to improve ammunition efficiency by 14% through minor calibration adjustments." The Slayer considers, The offer is reasonable. And truthfully, he needs the arm. Fighting at reduced capacity means fewer demons killed. That's unacceptable. He reaches to his armor's chest plate and opens a diagnostic port, a universal interface his suit uses for maintenance. An invitation. Viaros's optical arrays brighten. Most generous. He approaches carefully, extending a mechadendrite tipped with connection cables. The interface clicks into place, and suddenly the tech priest's entire body goes rigid. For 5 seconds, nothing. Then Viaros's vocoder emits a sound like static mixed with hymnal chanting. Impossible. Impossible. The machine spirits do not exist within this technology. It operates without sacred rituals, without prayer, without communion with the Omnissiah. Yet it functions. Perfectly. Efficiently. As if his optical arrays swivel to focus on the Slayer. Your universe, it does not have machine spirits, does it? Technology operates purely through scientific principle, not divine intervention. The Slayer nods. Heretical. Viaros's tone is flat. By Mechanicus dogma, absolutely heretical. Technology without the Omnissiah's blessing cannot function. A pause. Yet, here it is. Functioning. This challenges fundamental theological principles that have guided the Mechanicus for 10,000 years. Another pause. How fascinating. The tech priest disconnects, his mechadendrites moving in agitated patterns. I must consult sacred texts. Cross-reference doctrinal interpretations. This discovery has profound implications for... He catches himself, refocusing. But first, your arm. Yes, the arm. Function before theology. Viaros produces a data crystal and inserts it into his own processing unit. I have scanned your armor's integration points. The limb must interface mechanically, neurologically, and energetically with your suit's systems. Standard Imperial bionics would be insufficient. They require months of therapy to achieve full synchronization. You require immediate combat readiness. The tech priest's mechadendrites begin assembling components from his personal workshop, a mobile fabrication unit he carries on his back. I will construct a hybrid design, Imperial mechanical framework with specialized interface ports matching your armor's specifications. It will not match your original limb's capabilities, but it will restore approximately 73% functionality. How long? Eisenhorn's voice comes through the Vox speakers. He's monitoring this conversation from somewhere. 8 hours for fabrication, 2 hours for installation and calibration. Viaros glances at the Slayer. Though I suspect my patient will insist on accelerating that timeline. The Slayer points at the weapons table, then makes a gesture. Faster. Yes, I thought as much. Viaros's synthesized voice carries something almost like amusement. Very well. I will prioritize speed over elegance. 6 hours total. But you must remain still during installation. The neural interface requires precise calibration. 6 hours. The Slayer calculates. 6 hours of forced inactivity versus permanent reduction in combat effectiveness. The math is simple. He nods acceptance. As Viaros begins working, the tech priest speaks again, more quietly. A question, if I may. Your crusade against demons? It is personal, yes? Not duty, not faith. Personal vendetta. The Slayer's fist clenches. Yes. I understand. After a fashion. Viaros's mechadendrites weave complex patterns as they assemble components. The Mechanicus seeks knowledge, understanding. Yet there are things in this universe that resist understanding. Demons are antithetical to logic, to reason, to natural law. They offend by their very existence. He pauses in his work. Perhaps that is why you and I can find common ground. You destroy what cannot be understood. I seek to understand what cannot be destroyed. Complementary pursuits. It's the most philosophical statement the Slayer has heard since arriving in this universe. He doesn't respond, but he also doesn't reach for his weapons. A kind of acceptance. For 6 hours, Viaros works. The replacement limb takes shape, a masterpiece of Imperial engineering adapted to alien specifications. Adamantium frame, synthetic muscle fibers, neural interface nodes that will connect directly to the Slayer's nervous system through his armor's integration points. When it's complete, Viaros holds it up. It will never be as responsive as your original limb, but it will function. And in time, with use, the neural pathways will strengthen. Adaptation is, after all, humanity's greatest gift. The installation takes 2 hours of precise work. The Slayer doesn't make a sound as Viaros connects neural interfaces, as synthetic nerves are woven through his armor's systems, as bone and metal are fused at the molecular level. When it's done, the new arm responds to his mental commands. Slower than the original, less precise, but functional. The Slayer picks up the super shotgun, tests the weight, aims. The movements are acceptable. Not perfect, but acceptable. "You have my gratitude," Viaros says. "Examining your technology has expanded my understanding. In exchange, I offer this. Should you require repairs or ammunition resupply, contact me via Vox. I will prioritize your needs." He pauses. Not out of duty, out of scientific curiosity. "I wish to see how long you can maintain this crusade. What limits you will reach, what boundaries you will transcend." The Slayer holsters his weapon and stands. The Medikey Bay's monitoring equipment screams alarms. His vital signs indicate he should still be bedridden. He ignores them, moving toward the door. Eisenhorn's voice cuts in via Vox. "Slayer, your next deployment is being prepared. But you should know. While you were being repaired, we received distress signals from 3 nearby systems. Major demon incursions. We don't have the forces to address all of them simultaneously." The Slayer stops at the door, points at the Vox, then at himself. "Send me." "To which system?" The Slayer's response is to gesture at all 3. All of them. "That's impossible. Even with rapid deployment, you couldn't reach all 3 before." The Slayer turns to face the Vox pickup directly. His body language is clear. "Watch me." Brother Captain Stern's voice joins the channel. "Inquisitor Lord, I believe he's serious, and after witnessing his capabilities, I'm not certain it's impossible, merely improbable." Eisenhorn is silent for several seconds. Then, "Very well. We'll start with the closest system, Validus Prime. Heavy Nurgle presence. Plague Marines reported, along with demon engines and widespread biological contamination. The Imperium considers the world lost. We're only conducting reconnaissance before declaring exterminatus." The Slayer begins walking toward the hangar bay. Nurgle demons, disease, corruption, different flavor, same enemy. "One more thing," Eisenhorn adds. "The plague on Validus Prime has claimed 4 billion lives in 3 weeks. The infection rate is exponential. If it's not contained, it will spread to neighboring systems within a month. We're not just fighting demons there, we're fighting time itself." The Slayer's pace increases. Time is just another enemy. He's fought those before too. Validus Prime is a monument to despair. Once a lush agri-world producing food for 3 neighboring systems, it's now a rotting cemetery where the boundary between life and death has blurred into obscene parody. The atmospheric entry is immediately hostile. The Thunderhawk gunship carrying the Slayer punches through clouds that aren't clouds, but airborne spores, each one carrying 7 different plagues that would liquefy an unprotected human in minutes. Approaching drop zone, the pilot voxes, voice filtered through atmospheric scrubbers working overtime. Emperor's Mercy, it's worse than the briefing suggested. The entire continent is breathing. The Slayer looks through the viewport. The pilot is right. The landscape below undulates like diseased flesh. What were once cities are now tumorous growths. Buildings transformed into organic structures that pulse with unnatural life. Rivers run with substances that might be water, might be blood, might be something worse. At the heart of it all, a massive structure rises. The governor's palace, now transformed into a cathedral of rot. Nurgle's influence has warped it into something that shouldn't exist by any natural law. Chimneys belch toxic fumes that form laughing faces before dissipating. The walls weep ichor, and at its peak, a massive bell tolls with sounds that cause reality to crack. Demon's signature is off the scale. The pilot reports. Multiple greater demon readings, plague marine concentrations in the hundreds. This isn't an incursion, this is full demonic occupation. A pause. I can get you close, but extraction will be problematic. The Slayer moves to the assault ramp. No extraction needed. You're planning to fight your way to the cathedral alone. Through that, the pilot's voice carries disbelief. Even space marines wouldn't. The Slayer activates the assault ramp and jumps, falling 300 meters into the plague lands below. His armor seals immediately, all environmental systems engaging at maximum. The Praetor's suit was designed for Hell's most toxic environments. This is comparable. Corrosive spores impact his shields and sizzle away. Airborne pathogens that would create new diseases in real time fail to penetrate his filtration systems. He lands in what was once a city square, now transformed into a garden of pestilence. Nurgling demons, small, jovial plague spirits, swarm around his feet, giggling as they try to infect him with their touch. He crushes them underfoot, their bodies bursting into clouds of spores that his shields disperse. Then the real threats arrive. Plague Marines emerge from the diseased buildings, Chaos Space Marines who pledged themselves to Nurgle millennia ago. Their power armor is corroded, fused with their rotting flesh, yet they move with the same deadly efficiency that all Space Marines possess. Bolters bark, explosive rounds tracking toward the Slayer's position. He's already moving. The plasma rifle answers, coherent energy burning through corrupted ceramite. A Plague Marine's chest explodes, but instead of falling, it continues advancing, intestines dragging from the wound, laughing wetly. Grandfather, Nurgle embraces all. The Plague Marine calls out, voice bubbling through ruptured lungs. Even you, Slayer, especially you. Such hate, imagine it transformed into plague. Such rage, imagine it became glorious decay. The Slayer responds by closing the distance and driving his combat shotgun barrel through the Plague Marine's faceplate. Firing both barrels point blank, the explosive shells detonate inside the helmet, destroying what remains of the traitor's brain. This time, it stays down. 5 more Plague Marines converge, moving with coordinated tactics that speak to their millennia of combat experience. They spread out, creating crossfire angles, forcing the Slayer into a kill zone. Standard Space Marine doctrine, executed perfectly. The Slayer executes better. He throws a frag grenade, not at the Plague Marines, but at the diseased building behind them. The structure's organic walls rupture, collapsing inward. 2 plague marines are crushed under falling debris that immediately begins infecting them with competing plague strains. The remaining 3 push forward, but their formation is broken. The Slayer's chain gun spins up. At this range, against power armor, he needs sustained fire. The weapon roars, hundreds of rounds chewing through corrupted ceramite. 1 plague marine falls, legs severed. Another takes rounds to its shoulder, dropping its bolter. The 3rd charges directly at the Slayer, plague knife drawn, accepting damage to close to melee range. They collide with the force of a vehicle crash. The plague marine's strength is augmented by demonic blessing and 10,000 years of corruption. The Slayer's strength comes from rage and argent energy enhancement. They're matched, almost. The Slayer's new mechanical arm responds slower than his flesh one would have. The plague marine exploits this, catching his wrist, pulling him off balance. Its plague knife drives toward his helmet seal. The Slayer headbutts the plague marine. Hard. The impact cracks both their faceplates. Corrosive blood sprays from the traitor's broken nose, sizzling against the Slayer's armor. But the knife attack is disrupted, giving him the opening he needs. The Praetor blade ignites. He drives it through the plague marine's torso, severing the traitor's spine. As the corrupted space marine falls, the Slayer absorbs its essence. Not the chaos corruption, but the raw life force underneath. His armor's power reserves tick upward slightly. Slayer, this is Brother Captain Stern. The Vox crackles with interference from plague winds. We're monitoring your progress. You've eliminated 12 plague marines in 4 minutes. Impressive, but you're barely 1 kilometer from the drop zone. The cathedral is 15 kilometers distant, through increasingly concentrated demon presence. The Slayer checks his tactical display. Stern is right. The demon signatures increase exponentially toward the cathedral. He's facing hundreds of enemies before he even reaches the main concentration. Even for him, this is a prolonged engagement. We can provide orbital support, Stern offers. Lance strikes to thin the horde, clear approach vectors. The Slayer declines. Orbital bombardment would kill infected civilians who might still be saved. And more importantly, this is his fight. These demons are his to kill. He begins moving toward the cathedral, methodically clearing each block. Plague marines fall. Plague drones, daemonic insects fused with Nurgling riders, swarm and die by the dozens. Great unclean ones, bloated greater demons of Nurgle, emerge to challenge him and are repelled with BFG fire that burns away their diseased flesh. Every kill fuels him. Every demon destroyed strengthens his weapons, his armor, his resolve. This is what he was made for. Not just combat, extermination. 3 kilometers from the cathedral, he encounters something unexpected. Survivors. A cluster of Imperial Guard soldiers has barricaded themselves in a reinforced bunker, hazard suits jury-rigged from whatever materials they could scavenge. They're down to 19 people from an original garrison of 2,000. When the Slayer approaches, they raise laser guns with shaking hands. Halt! Identify yourself or we fire. The Slayer stops. He could simply bypass them, continue toward the cathedral. But something makes him pause. These soldiers have survived 3 weeks in hell. That deserves recognition. He deactivates his weapons, holds up his hands, one flesh, one metal, in a gesture of peace. The sergeant, a woman whose face is gaunt from starvation and stress, lowers her laser gun slightly. You're not infected. How is that possible? Everything here carries the plague. The Slayer taps his armor. Environmental sealing. You're going toward the cathedral, another soldier observes. That's suicide. There's a demon prince there. Calls itself the Tallyman. Counts every death on this world, every infection, every moment of suffering. It's orchestrating everything. The Slayer nods. He knows. That's exactly where he's going. Why? The sergeant's voice cracks slightly. The Imperium has abandoned us. They're going to virus bomb this world from orbit in 48 hours. Everyone here is dead already. Why fight? The Slayer considers how to answer without words. Finally, he reaches to his belt, then produces a spare ammunition magazine. He offers it to the sergeant. She takes it, confused. What's this for? He points at her. Then, at the bunker exit. Then in the opposite direction from the cathedral, toward where his tactical display shows a partially functional starport 12 kilometers away. Understanding dawns on her face. You want us to run? To try for evacuation? The Slayer nods. Then he turns back toward the cathedral and begins walking. Wait, the sergeant calls. If you're going after the Tallyman, you should know. It's not just counting deaths. It's learning. Every daemon you've killed. Every tactic you've used. The Tallyman has observed through the warp. It knows how you fight. It's prepared specifically for you. The Slayer's response is to check his weapons load. Prepared or not, it will die. Emperor, protect you, the sergeant whispers as he disappears into the plague fog. Behind him, he hears the bunker unsealing, the soldiers making their desperate run for the starport. Maybe they'll make it. Maybe they won't. But he's given them a chance. The only currency that matters in a universe where survival itself is victory. The final approach to the cathedral is through a nightmare landscape. The ground itself is infected, reaching up with pus-filled tentacles to grab his boots. The air is so thick with spores that visibility drops to 5 meters. Plague bearers materialize from the fog, their rotting forms barely distinguishable from the environment. The Slayer doesn't slow. He wades through them like a man walking through waist-deep water, crushing, shooting, slashing. His ammunition reserves dip lower than comfortable. His armor integrity drops to 18%. The mechanical arm's response time has degraded from the constant acid exposure. None of it matters. The cathedral doors loom before him, massive gates of corrupted brass, covered in seals that weep fluid. They're sealed, barred, designed to withstand siege weapons. The Slayer doesn't bother testing them. He draws the crucible, drives it into the door's center, and carves a hole large enough to walk through. Inside, the cathedral has been transformed into something between temple and stomach. The walls are organic, pulsing with diseased life. Pools of effluent cover the floor. And at the far end, on a throne of solidified plague, sits the Tallyman. The demon prince of Nurgle is grotesque even by demonic standards. Its body is a mass of tumors and open sores, constantly counting on an abacus made from bones. When it speaks, its voice is a chorus of death rattles. Ah, the Slayer. I've been counting. 3,742 demons slain since your arrival in our dimension. 17 greater demons. 1 demon prince. The Tallyman's eyes, 7 of them, scattered across its face, focus on him. Would you like to know how many seconds you have left to live? I've calculated it precisely. 347. Plus or minus 12, accounting for variables. The Slayer's response is to draw the BFG 9000. Oh, the green weapon. Yes. Effective against standard demon physiology. But you see, the Tallyman rises from its throne, and the cathedral's walls pulse in rhythm with its heartbeat. I am not merely a demon. I am the plague itself. This entire structure is my body. You cannot kill what is already death. The Slayer fires the BFG anyway. The plasma sphere crosses the cathedral, and the Tallyman makes no effort to dodge. The weapon impacts center mass, detonating with apocalyptic force. The demon prince's torso ruptures, essence hemorrhaging, and then the wounds close, not healing, reinfecting, the plague consuming itself to fuel regeneration. 330 seconds remaining. The Tallyman counts. Your weapons are formidable, but Grandfather Nurgle has made me resilient, persistent, eternal. The Slayer holsters the BFG and draws the crucible. If conventional weapons won't work, he'll do this the old-fashioned way. He charges. The Tallyman moves with speed that defies its grotesque bulk, launching itself from the throne as the Slayer closes the distance. They meet in the cathedral's center, crucible against plague-encrusted claws, and the impact sends shockwaves through the organic walls. 117 plague marines on Tertium Majoris. The Tallyman counts as it attacks, each word punctuated by a strike. 43 seconds average kill time per target. Efficient, brutal, but predictable. The demon's claw sweeps in from an unexpected angle. The Slayer blocks, but the Tallyman was counting on that. A second claw punches through his side armor, piercing deep. Corrosive plague venom floods the wound. The Slayer's auto-injectors fire immediately, flooding his system with antitoxins his suit synthesized from absorbing demon essence. It won't cure him. Nurgle's plagues transcend conventional medicine, but it buys time. Seconds, maybe minutes. He retaliates by driving the crucible through the Tallyman's wrist, severing the embedded claw. The demon's arm ends at the stump, but within seconds, new flesh bubbles up, reforming. Not regeneration. Rebirth through decay. You cannot kill what embraces death. The Tallyman laughs wetly. I am entropy given form, the heat death of the universe made manifest. Even your remarkable blade only delays the inevitable. The Slayer has heard this before. Different universes, different demons, same arrogance. They all claim immortality. They're always wrong. He changes tactics. Instead of attacking the Tallyman directly, he targets the cathedral itself. The crucible carves through the organic walls, and the structure screams. The demon prince staggers as if wounded. Clever, the Tallyman acknowledges. Attacking my extended corpus rather than my central mass, 298 seconds of life remaining. But you've made an error in calculation. The cathedral's walls pulse, and suddenly plague bearers begin manifesting. Not through rifts, but growing directly from the infected structure. Dozens, hundreds. They shamble toward the Slayer with arms outstretched, seeking to embrace him in diseased affection. The Slayer's chain gun answers, mowing them down in waves. But for every demon that falls, 2 more emerge from the walls. The Tallyman is using the entire cathedral as a spawning ground, converting ambient plague energy into corporeal demons. You fight well, the Tallyman observes, still counting on its bone abacus. But you fight finitely. Ammunition depletes, armor degrades, flesh weakens. I, however, am sustained by an entire world's worth of suffering. Every dying breath on Validus Prime feeds me. Every infected corpse strengthens me. You are one warrior. I am millions of deaths given single purpose. The Slayer's ammunition counter drops below 10%. The plague wound in his side spreads despite the antitoxins, black veins crawling across his torso. His armor's power reserves hit critical levels. The mechanical arm locks up completely, hydraulics seized by corrosion. By any rational measure, he's losing. The Slayer has never been rational. He stops fighting the plague bearers. Instead, he turns and sprints directly at the Tallyman, using the demons as obstacles between himself and the demon prince's counterattack. The Tallyman swipes at him. He slides under the blow. It tries to impale him with a tentacle. He rolls aside, letting it strike 3 plague bearers instead. And then he's inside the demon's guard, close enough to smell its breath, a miasma of 10,000 plagues concentrated into gaseous form. This close, the Tallyman's corruption should overwhelm even his armor's protections. The Slayer activates every weapon simultaneously. Shoulder-mounted flamethrower bathes them both in promethium fire. Plasma rifle discharges at point-blank range. Remaining grenades detonate in a chain. The combat shotgun fires until empty. And through it all, he drives the crucible deeper and deeper into the Tallyman's core. Not trying to kill it, but to anchor it. The demon prince thrashes, trying to escape, but the crucible's blade pins it in place. The crimson energy establishing a reality anchor that prevents the demon from dissipating into the warp or regenerating through plague rebirth. What are you? 211 seconds. No. The count is wrong. You're changing. The variables. The Tallyman's multiple eyes widen in something approaching fear. You're not trying to survive this. You're trying to eliminate me at any cost. The Slayer's response is to reach up with his remaining functional hand and tear off his own helmet. The plague atmosphere rushes in immediately. 7 different diseases assault his lungs. His eyes begin bleeding. His skin blisters. But his face, scarred, burned, marked by eons of war, shows no pain, only determination. He locks eyes with the Tallyman, and in that moment, the demon prince understands what it's facing. Not a warrior, not a soldier, not even a champion. An inevitability, a force of nature that has decided the Tallyman will die, and no amount of calculation, no regeneration, no plague can alter that fundamental truth. You're insane, the Tallyman whispers. The Slayer grabs the demon's throat with his bare hand. The corrosive flesh burns his palm, melting through skin to bone. He doesn't let go. Instead, he channels everything, every ounce of Argent energy his armor has absorbed from 3,000 demon kills, every reserve of power stored in the crucible, every last bit of strength his body possesses, into a single, focused pulse. The energy doesn't just damage the Tallyman, it erases it. The demon prince's form begins disintegrating from the point of contact outward. Not banishment, not death, complete annihilation. Its essence doesn't return to the warp. It simply ceases to exist, consumed by the same mechanism the Slayer has used to kill every demon since arriving in this universe. No, grandfather, the Count is wrong. I was supposed to. The Tallyman dissolves into nothing. The cathedral screams. With its animating intelligence destroyed, the organic structure begins collapsing, the plague flesh necrotizing rapidly. The plague bearers dissipate back into warp essence. The pools of effluent evaporate. The Slayer stands alone in the dissolving cathedral, armor at 4% integrity, body riddled with plague, mechanical arm destroyed, one hand burned to the bone. His helmet lies discarded on the floor. Blood runs from his eyes, his nose, his ears. He picks up the crucible, retracts the blade, and begins walking toward the exit he carved earlier. Outside, the plague winds are dying. With the Tallyman eliminated, the source of Nurgle's concentrated influence on Validus Prime is severed. The infections will linger. Plague is persistent. But without demonic coordination, they'll burn themselves out. The planet might be salvageable after all. The Slayer's legs give out 300 meters from the cathedral. He collapses into the diseased mud, armor failing, body shutting down from toxin overload. His last conscious thought is, 4 billion saved. Acceptable. Brother Captain Stern finds him 12 hours later. The Grey Knight was leading a reconnaissance team to confirm the cathedral's destruction when his auspex detected the Slayer's suit signature. Faint, barely functional, but still transmitting. He expects to find a corpse. Instead, he finds the Slayer sitting propped against a collapsed wall, conscious, systematically field stripping his damaged equipment. The plague wounds have stabilized, not healed, but no longer progressing. His armor is working overtime to purge the remaining toxins. "You killed a demon prince of Nurgle," Stern says, less question than statement of disbelief. "Alone, while infected with 7 lethal plague strains." The Slayer nods, then points at his tactical display, which shows 2 more systems marked in red. The other demon incursions Eisenhorn mentioned. "When?" "You need medical attention. Months of recovery." The Slayer shakes his head. "Now. When do we go now?" Stern stares at this broken, bleeding, poisoned warrior who should be dead 6 times over and instead is asking for his next deployment. The Grey Knight has served for 2 centuries. He's witnessed miracles and damnation in equal measure. This defies both categories. "Lord Inquisitor Eisenhorn has authorized immediate transport," Stern says finally. "Magos Viaros is already preparing emergency repairs. But understand, the next incursion is on Kaltos Secundus, Tzeentch corruption, reality warping on a scale that makes the warp look stable. Even we struggle against the architect of fate's schemes." The Slayer's response is to stand, swaying slightly, and begin walking toward the extraction point. Tzeentch. Change. Schemes. Just another demon to kill. "You're going to die?" Stern calls after him. "Eventually, even you will meet something you cannot overcome. What happens then?" The Slayer stops, turns, and for the first time since arriving in the 41st millennium, he makes a gesture that's almost a shrug. "Then I die. But not before taking as many demons with me as possible." It's the most honest statement Stern has heard in decades. Aboard the unrelenting vigil, Lord Inquisitor Eisenhorn watches surveillance footage of the Slayer's extraction. Ubel stands beside him, optical implants processing data. "Analysis complete, my lord," the Savant reports. "The Slayer's kill count across Tertium Majoris and Validus Prime, 4,217 daemon entities, 3 demon princes, 41 greater demons. Estimated Imperial lives saved, 22 billion. Estimated timeline acceleration, 6 weeks. Resources saved, incalculable." "And the cost?" Eisenhorn asks quietly. "To the Slayer, severe physiological damage, equipment degradation requiring extensive repairs. Expected recovery time under normal circumstances, 8 to 12 months. But he'll be combat ready in 72 hours, my lord. Possibly less if he refuses full treatment again." Eisenhorn closes his eyes. He's deployed countless assets over 3 centuries. Warriors, assassins, psychers, even space marines. None have operated with this level of sustained intensity. None have treated their own mortality as a mere inconvenience to work around. "He's going to burn himself out," Eisenhorn murmurs. "The human body, even his enhanced physiology, has limits." "Yes, my lord." Ubel pauses. But perhaps that's the point. He doesn't fight to survive. He fights to expend himself, to consume his own life in exchange for demon deaths until one or the other is exhausted. A crusade with a defined endpoint, Eisenhorn realizes. He's not seeking victory. He's seeking an ending. They watch as the Slayer boards the medical shuttle, immediately arguing, through gestures, with the Medicae staff who try to sedate him. He refuses, pointing at the tactical displays, at the remaining red markers, at the demons still out there. "My lord," Ubel says carefully, "there is a strategic concern. The Slayer's presence is destabilizing chaos operations across multiple sectors. Intelligence suggests the ruinous powers are taking coordinated action. They're sending something significant." How significant? Fragmentary data only, but, my lord, there are mentions in decoded chaos transmissions of the Slayer's opposite, an entity being summoned specifically to counter him. The forces of chaos are pooling resources to create or summon something designed to kill what they cannot corrupt. Eisenhorn's jaw tightens. Of course, the Slayer has become too effective, too dangerous. Chaos adapts. It always adapts. "Inform Brother Captain Stern," Eisenhorn orders, "and prepare contingencies when chaos sends its counterweapon." He watches the Slayer disappear into the medical bay, this broken warrior already planning his next battle. "We need to be ready to support him, or if necessary, to complete his mission if he falls." "Understood, my lord." Eisenhorn turns from the viewport, walking toward his chambers. Behind him, Validus Prime begins its long recovery. The plague winds die. Survivors emerge from hiding. Imperial recovery teams deploy. And in the medical bay, the Slayer sits on the examination table while Magos Viaros works to repair his damaged armor, already planning his assault on Kaltos Secundus, already calculating how many demons he can kill before his body gives out. The crusade continues. It always continues. Because somewhere in the darkness of the 41st millennium, there are demons that need killing. And he will not stop until every last one is dead. Or he is. 3 months pass. Kaltos Secundus falls to the Slayer's assault. 17 greater demons of Tzeentch banished, their reality-warping towers reduced to stable rubble. Morpheus 7 follows, its Slaaneshi pleasure cults dismantled, 3 daemonic harems exterminated. On Ganaris, he walks through a bloodletter legion 8,000 strong and emerges alone, covered in demon essence, weapons smoking. The Imperium begins calling him the Emperor's Wrath made manifest. Prayers are offered in his name on worlds he saved. The Ecclesiarchy debates whether to declare him a living saint. The Slayer ignores all of it. Names, titles, worship. They're distractions from the work. Only the demon count matters, only the kill. But chaos has not been idle. On the 18th world, he cleanses, a forge world designated Metallica Tertius. The counterstrike comes. Not a demon prince, not a greater demon lord. Something worse, a weapon forged specifically for him. Baptized in the combined essence of all 4 chaos gods, given singular purpose. End the Slayer. They call it the corruption that walks. It matches his strength, mirrors his tactics, feeds on his rage the way he feeds on demon essence. The battle lasts 6 hours and reduces an entire hive spire to rubble. When it ends, both warrior and demon have vanished into the structure's collapse, status unknown. Lord Inquisitor Eisenhorn leads the excavation personally. They find the corruption that walks first, its form shattered, essence permanently destroyed. 15 meters deeper, they find the Slayer. He's alive. Barely. 90% of his armor destroyed. 3 limbs broken, organs failing. But alive, one hand still gripping the crucible's hilt, the blade buried in rubble where it pinned the demon for the killing blow. In the medical bay aboard the unrelenting Vigil, Magos Viaros works for 36 hours straight, rebuilding what can be rebuilt, replacing what cannot. Brother Captain Stern stands vigil, watching this warrior who has killed more demons in 3 months than entire Grey Knight companies eliminate in decades. When the Slayer finally regains consciousness, his first action is to reach for his tactical display, to check for more demon signatures, more targets. Eisenhorn stops him, placing a hand on his remaining flesh arm. "Enough," the Inquisitor says quietly. "You've done enough." The Slayer's eyes, still burning with that unquenchable hate, lock onto Eisenhorn's. The message is clear. It's never enough. Not while one demon remains. "I know," Eisenhorn acknowledges. "I've read your pattern, Slayer. You're not fighting to win. You're fighting to die with purpose, to expend yourself completely against the thing you hate most." He leans closer. "But consider, you've shown the Imperium something we'd forgotten. That demons can be hunted, killed permanently, not just banished to return centuries later, but ended." The Slayer listens, wary. "Your technology, your methods, we can't replicate them perfectly, but we can learn. Magos Viaros has already begun adapting certain principles. The Grey Knights are incorporating your tactical approaches." Eisenhorn's voice carries weight beyond its words. "You're teaching the 41st millennium how to fight demons the way you fight them, with finality." For the first time, something flickers across the Slayer's expression. Not hope. Hope died for him long ago. But perhaps purpose beyond simple destruction. Legacy. "The crusade doesn't end with you," Eisenhorn continues. "What you've started, this will echo across millennia. Long after you're gone, humanity will remember that demons can be killed. Truly killed. You're not just a warrior, Slayer. You're a template. A proof of concept that the Imperium's 10,000-year war can be won, not just endured." The Slayer considers this. Then, slowly, he reaches for his helmet, newly repaired by Viaros, incorporating salvaged components from his original Praetor suit. He puts it on, systems activating, and stands. His body protests. His repairs are incomplete. It doesn't matter. There's a demon incursion reported on Validus Tertius, 17 dead, hundreds infected. Eisenhorn sees the determination return to the Slayer's posture and sighs. "You won't stop, will you? Not until your body gives out or you find something that finally kills you." The Slayer's response is to check his weapons. Super shotgun, plasma rifle, chain gun, crucible. All functional, all ready. He begins walking toward the hangar bay. "Then, at least accept this," Eisenhorn calls after him. He produces a data slate. Coordinates for every confirmed demon presence in the sector. Not just immediate threats, long-term targets. Strategic objectives. Consider it a roadmap for your crusade. The Slayer stops, takes the data slate, studies it for exactly 5 seconds, memorizing everything. And then he hands it back and continues walking. Brother Captain Stern falls into step beside him. "My squad deploys to Validus Tertius in 2 hours. We'll coordinate." The Slayer shakes his head. He'll handle it alone. Faster that way. "You understand you're going to die eventually?" Stern asks, not unkindly. "Even you cannot fight forever." The Slayer pauses at the hangar bay entrance, turns to face both Stern and Eisenhorn, who have followed him. And for the first time since arriving in the 41st millennium, he makes a gesture that might be acknowledgement. Yes, eventually. And when that day comes, Stern presses. The Slayer's posture shifts to something that might be satisfaction. When that day comes, it will be because he died killing demons. There are worse ways to go. He boards the Thunderhawk alone. The engines scream. The gunship lifts off, vectoring toward Validus Tertius and its demon infestation. Eisenhorn and Stern watch it disappear into the void. He won't see his next year, Stern says quietly. The cumulative damage, the toxins, the warp exposure, his body is failing. I know, Eisenhorn agrees. But in that year, he'll kill thousands more demons, save billions more lives, and teach the Imperium that the long war against chaos isn't hopeless. He turns away from the viewport. Some warriors are measured by how long they fight, others by how much they accomplish before the end. The Slayer, he's the latter. A warrior born for one purpose, Stern muses. Demon slaying given human form. Not quite human anymore, Eisenhorn corrects. Something more. Something this dark millennium desperately needed. Proof that even in the 41st millennium, where there is only war, that war can be won. One demon at a time. One world at a time. Until either the demons are gone, or he is. On Validus Tertius, 17 corpses become 1,700 as the demon incursion spreads. Bloodletters manifest in civilian centers. Plague spreads through water supplies. Reality itself begins to crack. Then a thunderhawk screams through the atmosphere, and from its assault ramp, a lone warrior jumps into hell with weapons ready and purpose absolute. The demons sense him and shriek recognition. The Slayer has come, the one who ends, the one who cannot be stopped, cannot be corrupted, cannot be turned. They attack in waves, desperately trying to overwhelm him before he reaches their leaders. It doesn't work. It never works. Because somewhere in another universe, in another hell, a warrior was forged who would fight until nothing remained, neither demons nor himself. And when dimensional barriers tore, when the warp spat him into the 41st millennium, that crusade simply continued. Different universe, different demons, same purpose. Arep and Tyr, until it is done, or until he is. In the grimdark future of the 41st millennium, there is only war. But now, in that endless darkness, burns a singular light, not of hope, not of faith, but of absolute, unrelenting fury directed at the universe's greatest threat. The Imperium has survived for 10,000 years through sacrifice and faith. Now it has something else. Proof that demons bleed, that they can die permanently, that the long war can be shortened by one warrior willing to burn himself to ash if it means taking the enemy with him. The Emperor protects. But sometimes, protection comes from beyond the stars, delivered by a silent warrior in green armor who asks for nothing, accepts no praise, and demands only one thing: point me at the demons. The rest will handle itself.